Today, the House approved a revamped defense bill. The president vetoed the original measure over a spending issue, which has been since resolved. Let's get more on that and the investigation into that Russian airliner disaster. Chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, Texas Congressman Mac Thornberry, is with us tonight. Mr. Chairman, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start with that investigation. You're the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee. What can you tell us? What do you know?
Well, I think the different intelligence organizations of various countries are trying to pull together the threads of intelligence and put them together to figure out what happened. And you want to be pretty sure before you reach a conclusion. My guess is once they have the threads together, they'll find that there was an explosion on this plane, and then the challenge is to find who did it and go from there.
We have not heard of any specific evidence of this explosion. Have you?
Well, the plane was going at a relatively high altitude. Something catastrophic happened to cause it to descend quickly and hit the ground. So I think that, as I say, different intelligence organizations pulling together pieces to find out, okay, can we see an explosion? What happened? Is there signals intelligence, imagery, various kinds of things that we can pull together and put this picture together?
But as far as the briefing you're getting about bomb residue or anything like that, or
I think they're still working on that. So you're right. I mean, that's the way to confirm is to take the wreckage and see if there can have explosive residue and that sort of thing. That's in process.
Okay. And as far as terrorists, if it was a bomb, who may be responsible?
Yeah, it's a number of suspects. We know there's a significant amount of terrorism in Egypt. We know that Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula in Yemen has really been focused on airplane bombs throughout their history. And actually, if you step back to 9/11, we have had the shoe bomber, the underwear bomber, the print cartridge bomb, a series of adaptable threats to airliners because the terrorists are always trying to change, to innovate, to get around our security measures, but they continue to be focused on airliners and bringing them down because they know what that means to the world to disrupt air travel and to cause the worry and concern that so it's a major object of them, for them.
I mean, a couple more things. The British seem much more confident about this. They had the Telegraph reported tonight that terrorist chatter led to their determination about what they're doing. And the Times of London said there was a specific bag on the plane. Either of those things match up with what you're hearing?
Well, I don't know about the specific bag. As I say, I think that various countries' intelligence organizations are monitoring the chatter to see if that lines up. Of course, the British have a huge number of tourists who go to this region, and so they're trying to be better safe than sorry, I think. So they're a little ahead of us in reaching conclusions, but I can understand that.
All right. The National Defense Authorization Act passed 370 to 58 today. What about this maneuver back and forth with the White House? Now it moves on to the Senate, likely to get through there. But what do you think the president's going to do?
Well, I don't know for sure. What I do know is that this has been, 2 weeks ago, was the first time in history that a president has vetoed a defense authorization bill, not because of something that's in it primarily, but to use it as leverage to force Congress to increase spending in other areas. And so it in effect, using support for our troops as a bargaining chip. Now, will he continue to try to maneuver around and worry about his campaign promises and so forth? I don't know. But I think what you saw today was a huge bipartisan vote, probably the largest in several years, partly as a reaction to the president's maneuver, but even more concern about what's happening in the world.
Mr. Chairman, the language about Guantanamo Bay is exactly the same. Is that right?
That's right.
This is what the White House said about closing Gitmo today.
We continue to believe that Congress should remove the obstacles that they have imposed that have prevented us from successfully closing the prison at Guantanamo Bay. It doesn't make fiscal sense to keep spending large sums of money to detain these individuals at the prison at Guantanamo Bay when it can be much more done in a much more cost-effective fashion elsewhere. And it doesn't make sense to make an argument that somehow this poses an undue risk to the American public. The fact is there are many convicted terrorists who are serving time on American soil right now.
What about that argument, Mr. Chairman?
Well, Senator McCain, among others, has been pressing the White House to send us a plan for 6 years about how you would close Guantanamo and what you would do with the people, and to see whether that can get the support of the American people and Congress. They haven't done that for 6 years. Now there's another new fresh set of rumors that they're about to send a plan up. So these restrictions are the same ones we've had in law every year for the past 5 years. They only last another year, so if they can come up with a plan and everybody thinks, oh, that makes sense, then the restrictions go away.
But you're convinced that's a goal, to go back to that promise, that campaign promise from 2008?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question. And again, they're not willing, though, to put the details down to say exactly where they want to go and how they're going to safeguard the American people and the neighborhoods where these people would be sent.
Mr. Chairman, thanks for the time today.
Thanks for having me.